Well, welcome back to another episode of Light Vision Art Q&A. I'm your humble host, Alfonso Ashworth. And of course, we got a great topic lined up today. We're going to have an open forum. Of course, we will be expecting some of my friends and fellow shutterbugs to chime in. And if you would like to be a part of the show, of course, you can join us here in our chat, or you can go, if you're looking at the show live, if you're looking at it live on the YouTube, if you are able to get to our links, one of the links that you can go to, of course, is our web page. You can go there at lightvisionart.simdiff.com, and you can go there and actually see the show in a live feed, or you can go to YouTube, go to our YouTube channel and check out the show. I can see that Claudia is in the queue. We're going to bring her in just a minute. Let her say hello. I'm sure she can hear me. Wave if you can hear me, Claudia. Yes, she can hear me fine. She's in the queue, and we'll have her on to open up the forum. We're going to take you on a tour of a dark room. What you see behind me, of course, is a typical image of what a dark room would look like. You know, of course, the dark room is somewhere we photographers look upon as being sacred. It's like sacred holy grounds. So if you want to put it that way, it'd be like sacred holy grounds. And of course, we're going to show you what it would look like, or simulate what it would look like in a dark room. Of course, if you want to call in on the show, you can call in at 615-547-3388, or whatever that number is. I think it's 3355. I'm sorry. 3355. You can call in, and if you got a comment or question, call in, and we'll get you on air. Also, you can find us at lightvisionart at gmail.com as well. Of course, let's say hello to Claudia, see what she's up to. Come on in, Claudia. Welcome to the show. Let me show you on the broadcast. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, good morning, Al. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. How was your morning?
Busy already. I made it just in time to be back here with you. I'm excited to see what this is all about, since I have no idea about dark rooms.
Yeah, I know. I get a lot of responses. Matter of fact, I put this show up on Facebook, and I got a lot of people saying they remember being in a dark room. And one of the things they remembered is the smell of the chemicals, just being in that environment. And of course, we're going to talk about what a dark room is. We're going to open the forum up, though, for people to talk about whatever they want to. So if you got something you want to discuss, the table is open to any discussions. Of course, if you will go to our showcase, you can see that in the showcase, there are websites available. And I've listed the showcase for the Wilson County Photography Guild. The new photograph that won Photo of the Month is listed there. You can also see where I have a poll that I've put up asking the question, which is most important to getting a great photographic image? And we've had people already respond to that poll. You can go to there and also check that out. But the dark room is one of the places I think that a lot of photographers today are not only are they not familiar with, they really have missed out on an era of photography that many people cut their teeth. Of course, you start out with this right here. You got to have a good box with the hole in it. Of course, this would have been your typical camera from that time period, a 35 millimeter. This is a Yashica camera. Of course, you would have had to start there to get your image ready. But of course, when you went into a dark room, it's exactly what it meant. It was a dark room. Of course, there was ways to work around that. One of the things that we would do, of course, we had what we call a red light. Now, of course, the red light would make your image look something like this. This is what a dark room looked like in under a red light. And of course, I would also have to add myself into that. I would look like that too, Claudia. This is what I would look like in a dark room, walking around in the red light. Of course, the red light allowed you to sort of work in the environment without bumping into things, you know, because as you can see in the dark room, there's shelves, there's objects, there will be trays with chemicals in them, there will be tables, maybe cabinets. So you had to know, one of the main things you had to know about going in the dark room, you had to be very organized. You had to be extremely organized. That means you knew exactly where everything was and everything had a place. So that when you went into the dark room, you didn't spill chemicals all over yourself, or you didn't contaminate your paper that couldn't be exposed to light. So after you would go in there, let me go switch over to some of the images. Your dark room would look like this. When you went in, you turn on the red light, you can see in the dark room, you had your enlarger, you had your sink, you had your chemicals, you had your trays. Now, once you set up everything and got all your image ready, you would then, of course, expose that image with what we called an enlarger. Now, the enlarger would just be a big camera projector, because you would put your negative in the enlarger and then you would expose that negative to paper in the dark room. After you expose the paper, got your exposure, just like you did in your camera, you would then take that paper to develop it. Now, this is exactly what it would look like in the trays. You would have your tray of chemistry, you would have a developer, you would have a stop bath, then you would have what they call a fixer. Well, this image would come to life in this tray while you watching it in the dark room. And afterwards, you would then wash the papers. Now, this is Ansel Adams in his dark room, Claudia. That's an image of Ansel Adams in his dark room. And he's washing, it looks like he's either developing or washing maybe one of his prints. Well, after he developed it and got it washed, then he would do what? He would then hang it, let the prints dry. Maybe he would let them dry for maybe several hours. Sometimes people would let them dry maybe for a whole 24 hours. But once your images were dry, then you would inspect the images for dust, for, you know, if you wanted to go back and redo it again. So that's pretty much what you would see if you were in the dark, just like this. You would be in the dark. That's what it looked like. You would be in the dark. So you would have to know where everything was while you walking around in your dark room. So that's one of the things that I like that people are missing out on. You can go ahead and unmute yourself, Claudia, if you want to, because I would like to know some of your thoughts.
Yeah. Tell me, you know, you start with a roll of film. What do you do with a roll of film after you took the pictures? Film is all the way in the little cartridge. What's the first step with this film?
Well, you would have to develop the film. So you would go in your dark room. You would work in the dark by getting the film out of the canister. You'd have to take it out of that little metal canister. And then you would put the film on what we call a spool. It would be like a little spool that you would put it on. And then that spool went into a container. where you would develop the film. So you had to go through the development of the film. Then the film would have to dry, of course. You would inspect your film and see if your exposures were correct. And there was one image here. I'll go back and show you one of the images. One of the images here. If you'll notice, did you see the image on the far end?
Yeah, second from the right there.
Yeah, on the very far left, the image on the very far left. That is what we call a contact sheet. You would make a contact sheet of your images. And like you and I today, your contact sheet today would be your thumbnails on your computer.
Yeah.
So you would make a contact sheet, and then from there, you would then set out deciding which print did you want to enlarge. You didn't go through there and enlarge every print. It would just be, it would be time consuming. So you wouldn't do that. Of course, if you want to go to the websites, you can check out some of the websites. I have information on my website. If you go to Light Vision Art, there's plenty of information there on, you know, some of these things that we're talking about. Of course, you can also, I want to recommend that you go to Wilson County Photography Guild. Go there, check out that website as well. There's plenty of resources. You can come in contact with a lot of photographers. And there's also the photograph of the month available on the website. Do you remember whose photograph that was, Claudia, that got photographed?
I am sorry, I don't remember his name. He's pretty new, I think, to the group. And I mean, what a picture, you know, and then.
Yeah. Jeff may know. Let me get Jeff in here. Hello, Jeff. How you doing? Yeah, you're on mute. Turn yourself off of mute, Jeff. I don't hear you. As soon as we get Jeff on, he may tell us who the person who had the photo of the month. He had went on a cruise, if I'm not mistaken. He had been on a cruise, and he talked about how many images he had to take in order to capture that that shot. Claudia, did you freeze on me? Are you frozen? I don't see you.
Can you see me now?
I see you, but your image is frozen, so I can hear you. There you go.
You can hear me? I'm trying to open the Wilson County Photography Guild online to see if maybe his name is in this picture.
Oh, okay.
Probably had too many windows open.
Yeah, probably. Hey, Jeff, how you doing, sir? Unmute yourself at the top right there. There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, welcome to the show today. We're talking about working in a dark room, and I'm gonna also talk about profiles today. I want to talk about what is a profile, and when people are taking their images, they don't think about, well, what profile am I using? But who was the photographer that had photo of the month?
I don't know either. I think he's new to. I don't know if I've never seen him before. He may have been there. Let me see if I can Google in and get the guild up.
I've got the website here, the Wilson County website. I don't know if I can see it well enough to see who had won the picture of the month. I don't even know if it's posted there. I don't see it anywhere. But in any case,
it'd be good if they post the names.
Yeah, post the name of the person who won. We may need to recommend that. What we were talking about before you come on was working in the dark room. Of course, working in the dark room looks just like this right here. It looks like working in the dark. But of course, you have other things that you can do. One of the things you can do, you can work under a red light. That's when you're using black and white, of course. You can work under what we call a red light. We do have one viewer on the show. Now, viewer, if you want to ask questions, go ahead and check the top of the screen on your video, and there's a small box or grid. Check that box, and you can ask questions to our group. And of course, we will monitor those questions to see what we can add to the show. Claudia, you're back. I see you. Welcome back again. But of course, you're working in the dark, and it would look something like this here. Now, of course, if you want to see what I would look like in the dark room, I would look something like this right here. If I was in the dark room, Claudia, I would have on my red light, and you would be able to see me, of course, working in the dark. But
so the red, I'm sorry, Al, does red not influence your development? Is that why they choose red as a light?
Right, it will not interfere with your development. The red layer or the cyan layer, basically, it was invisible because of the red light. So it would be very dim, though. It wouldn't be this bright. It would not.
Yeah.
It would be quite dim. Now, of course, over time, your eyes would adjust. Your eyes would adjust to the room, and it would become easier. Now, of course, it would look similar to this. Now, the key point to working in the darkroom, as I said earlier, is organization. You have to be extremely organized, because at some point you would be in the dark. So make sure that if you're in the dark room, make sure you know where everything is located. Now, after that, once you got organized, you got the image you wanted to use, then you would go to your enlarger, which may look something like what you see on the screen. You may have more than one enlarger in your dark room. You may have 3 or 4. But you would go to your enlarger. You would place your negative in the holder. You would turn on the focusing light, focus your image, get it cropped, get it composed how you were going to do your image. And once you make your exposure to the paper, it has to be done in the dark. So all lights off. All lights off when you make your exposure. Then afterwards, you would then be able to turn back on your light, put your print in the developer tray, and see your image develop. Just like this here. After it's developed, like Ansel Adams here would have done, you can then go through the process of washing your image, getting all the chemicals off the image. Then after that, you would then hang your images up somewhere to dry. Now, you may have a commercial darkroom, you may have a commercial dryer, but for most of us, you would just hang it up like this, let the images dry, go back and inspect the images, and then start the process all over again. It may take you several times, it may take you several days of working on 1 or maybe 2 images. So you would have to be very patient in the darkroom. Of course, that's something. Go ahead.
So if I develop the first picture and I see it is too bright still, I can go back, put the negative, take another picture of it, put a different chemical combination together for a darker picture?
Well, your enlarger would have a timer, and you would expose that image for certain times. And there's techniques that you would learn to do. One of the techniques that you would do, you would learn how to make a test print of an image. So that way you could see different times on one sheet of paper. It would look like from dark to light, and each one would represent a certain time, so that you wasn't wasting a lot of paper. That was another thing. If you were on a budget, the last thing you want to do is waste a box of paper trying to get one image to look correct. So you would have to do some test prints and then go and look at the one that you like the best, then make that print. Even then, you may have dust on your print, Claudia. You may have dust on your negative. So you may have to do some retouching afterwards, just like we do in Photoshop. So
and how was that done?
Well, you had certain dyes that you could retouch your negative with to get the dust off, or you could physically retouch the print after it's done with techniques. With you would go, and there was a whole type lesson behind retouching. Most of the time, most of the darkroom people I knew would just send their images to a retouch artist. That's all they would do, is just retouch your prints for you, just like in Photoshop. Some people are good at retouching, some people are not. Jeff, you got anything to say about working in a darkroom? I think you've worked in a darkroom, haven't you?
Yeah, I've a lot of mine is related to print, because we have a really large camera, and I exposed the negative and developed the negative, and then we would transfer the negative to a plate.
Right.
That would expose it with it's a really intense light. I can't remember exactly what the machine. It really put out a intense light. Of course, that went on to a Davidson printer, I think we had like a 3-color printer.
Right.
At the time, and but I've also done a little bit of color later on in the years. The guy that used to own our business, he had a small setup in his house, and I would go over and play with that. The time I got to playing with that, though, a lot of his chemicals were old, and a lot of my stuff that I developed, it's kind of faded out a little bit.
Right.
But he's talking about retouching. There was a whole period of time there where people, they actually, would color in lips and eyes and different things after the photo was developed. That was, I guess, right in the period between black and white and color.
Yeah, they would do what they call tinting. They would tint the print and most of that was done on what we call fiber-based paper. If you've ever saw fiber-based, you'd recognize it. It's very heavy and it's very textured. So they would do this on what they call fiber-based. Now they would either tint the image, which is one way we could do it, or like today, you could make it sepia toned. You could actually use toners that were chemicals to tone the image. So all of this that we're learning today in Photoshop was actually developed, to coin a phrase, developed in the darkroom.
Yeah, a lot of that Ansel Adams stuff that we were watching on the videos, it was amazing, because some of the stuff I didn't know how to do vignetting and things like that, and feathering of edges and the edges. And
right.
I would take thin layers of fabric and lay around the edge of the film while it was being developed,
right,
to give that feathered effect. And I don't know. I thought it was interesting at the time. Nobody else may not liked it, but I didn't know how to do it. I didn't. My first couple of years of training, or my first year of training, I had a really good teacher. My second year in class, they changed the teacher. He didn't have a clue, so I became the teacher.
Right.
So anyways, it was interesting, to see what Ansel Adams was, how he was, he would hold during the development of that film, or that photo, he was actually shading areas of the photo.
Right, dodging and burning.
Dodging and burning is exactly. I mean, you see that right in Photoshop now, but I was doing some of that back years ago. I had no idea what I was doing, but that's exactly what I was doing in the dark room then.
So, and a lot of times they would use shapes, like
Yeah.
they would use shapes like this right here would be a what they call a mask. Let me do one. I would mask the image with a shape. Now, of course, you could make that shape opaque, which means you could bring down the opacity or make it bordered. You can see how I'm changing my borders right here. You see the shapes that I'm making. You can see that I'm inside the shape. And you see how you do that. You could do that in the darkroom very easily. That's something you could do. And if you didn't know how to do that, you could feather it, you could blur it, you can actually put shadows in. So all of that was done with the darkroom technique.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how many people don't know this today. They just use Photoshop and they never even think about how it works. Well, it all starts with learning the darkroom. So I would encourage people to try to get in a darkroom if they can. If you want to set up a darkroom, if you're interested, email me at Light Vision Art. Of course, you can email me easily here you can call me at 615-547-3355, or you can email me at lightvisionart@gmail.com, and I will be glad to tell you how to set up a darkroom for less than $300. I can tell you how to do it. You'll have a full-fledged darkroom, and you could do it. You may even be able to do it for less than that, because some people are giving away enlargers. I showed you an enlarger just a minute ago. This is what they look like. They just look like huge projectors. Now you have.
You
go
can
ahead.
find these things a lot of times at estate sales and things.
Oh yeah, you could have a color enlarger. You can have a black and white enlarger, or you could have one that would do both. So that means you could do your color film as well. But this is what an enlarger would look like. You can find, I have people give them to me now. They will literally, I've got 2 or 3 here in my shop that someone just gave me. So if you want to set up a dark room and learn how to work in the dark, Claudia, you see that I'm working in the dark, I will be glad to help you do that. Claudia, do you have any other questions on that topic, on what we're discussing with darkroom today?
Well, I see that it's probably a plus knowing the darkroom when you today work with your Photoshop programs.
It's a
I mean,
must.
I just learned by listening and what other people do and use, but can't imagine, it's probably a lot easier to get in the dark room and
Right.
using those programs today,
Yeah.
Because I have no idea how they relate.
Yeah. Jeff, could you try to explain to Claudia? She says she can't really feel like how it relates. I just see it as the same. The way I look at it, I just see it as the same.
No, all these techniques that were used in the darkroom, I say all of them. A lot of them you can't do, but there's a lot of techniques that were developed in the darkroom that have been taken right over into Photoshop. Layering is another. We could layer films and create different illusions of things just by stacking films on top of each other.
Yeah, or you could actually multiple expose the paper. Yeah.
But that's another thing. It's in Photoshop that it came right out of the darkroom. I can see a lot of what Ansel Adams had developed it's right in Photoshop. It's just in an electronic version. So
yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's a good way to put it, Jeff. It's an electronic version of the darkroom. But can you imagine? Let's put it this way. Can you imagine being an auto mechanic get all the information to be an auto mechanic, but never actually work on a car. That's how I see Photoshop versus darkroom. Photoshop, you sort of doing it, but you're not doing it. You sort of the software is doing it. You're not physically doing it. It's the software that's doing it. So in the darkroom, you had to do everything physically. That means you had to handle the negative, you had to handle the paper, you had to mix the chemicals, you had to expose the print, you had to develop the print in a tray that I showed you earlier. You had to actually put that image in a tray. It would look something like this right here. You would put it in the tray. You would sit there and move the paper. You would actually move the paper to agitate the chemicals so that it would develop properly. It was all about technique. Every bit of it was about technique. And so I think it would benefit any photographer today to get some darkroom experience, even if it was just 10 hours. If it was like, if you could get in a darkroom for 10 hours, you would probably know so much more about Photoshop when you left that you didn't even realize. And I encourage anybody. I don't care. You could, like I said, for $100, $200, $300, I can turn a closet. I can turn a closet into a dark room. I've done it before. I've done it for schools. I've done it for individuals. I've done it for myself. I still got a dark room behind me that that's in. It could be in production in one day. It could be in production in one day. And so, Claudia, do you have anything else you want to add to that? You're on mute. You muted yourself. There you go.
Okay, sorry. Do you still get the chemicals? And I mean, you got to find a roll of black and white film, so that would all be online order.
Yeah. You can still find the chemicals, the papers, the film. You just have to have a film camera.
Yeah.
You could find the film, and then you could learn to develop the film. I could show you how to develop film, and I used to show children how to develop film in one setting. Now you would have to get pretty proficient at it over time, but I could teach you how to do it in one setting. It's not rocket science. It's all about organization, and it's all about keeping everything in its place. You didn't want your wet side. Now, in the dark room, you had what we call a wet side and a dry side. You didn't want things that went on the wet side to be over on things in the dry side, or vice versa. So that would be the main point. But you could learn how to do all that, and I keep stressing it. There is a place in Nashville, if you want to look that up, or somebody want to look it up. There is a place in Nashville, I believe, that has dark rooms that you can go and work in. I meant to look that up and have it available, but of course, it's something that's easily discovered. But I think you can go down and actually they'll teach you and work with you and help you, and or at some point you can just use the dark room for your own pleasures. Hey Jeff, what do you think about the new Hasselblad that's coming out? Have you seen that camera?
Yeah, did you put yours on order already?
Yeah, I'm gonna order me 2 of those bad boys. Welcome. We have another. Welcome.
It's going to change, another change into the market for that medium format version of photography. live view. Gosh, that thing, I don't remember if that one is 100 megapixels, I think.
Yeah.
There's one that's 50.
Yeah.
Phase One's got one. They're using the same sensors and things. Phase One's got the a new one too, but they didn't go full mirrorless on theirs. Theirs is still the big body. But I mean, you're taking basically a $25,000-$30,000 camera and going to introduce it into the market for, I don't know, $10,000 or something. So that's going to be that. It's going to be interesting to watch and see what it does. Of course, they've got to still develop all the lenses and things for that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, with it being mirrorless, I don't think they're going to have a problem with that. I tell you where people are going to get sticker shock is when they go buy the lenses.
Yep. I get sticker shock right now on my lenses. So.
Yeah, it's going to get sticker shock when you go buy a lens and it costs you $25,000. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised at all. Because if you ever shot medium format, if you could afford the body most of the time costs somewhere between $5,000-$10,000, maybe even up to $15,000. The lenses would scare you away because one lens may cost $10,000. So
you're going to have to be in the advertising model business, I guess, a high-end business. You pretty much got to have that kind of equipment, though, to stay on top of.
Yeah, to be competitive. Of course, if you want to call in, call it 615. Of course, 547-3355. I'm Alfonso Ashworth. Of course, you can find me other places as well. We do other things, of course, Live Vision Art Q&A, what you're listening to at the moment. You can also check me out, of course, in the darkroom. Find me at Darkroom in Use. Of course, I do a radio broadcast called Line Chasers Radio with Lonnie Poindexter once a week. I'm his guest host. You can also find me there and in the classroom at Live Vision Art, The Educated Eye. We got the winter fall class starting. We're already signing up students. So if you want to be in that class, let me know. We got Jeff. Jeff's in our class. He's an app student. Of course, we do Live Vision Art, The Educated Eye. And speaking of lenses, if you need good quality Canon lenses, check out WeBeLenses.com with Jim and Marion Young. You can go online, get your lenses at a reasonable rate. You can rent them at a good rate and get them quickly. So try out WeBeLenses.com. Okay, Jeff, I'm one of these people. I like to wait to see what everybody else is going to do first. For instance, I used to be the kind of photographer that would want something first. I wanted to get that lens first. I wanted to get that camera first. And then 6 months later, they come out with another one.
Yep.
So I sort of want to sit back and wait on this thing with Hasselblad. Hasselblad has a great name, but I don't know many people that's going to spend $10,000 for just the camera body. Now, I don't think people are understanding. That's just for the camera body.
Well, I think they'll have adapters that will be able to adapt the lenses. Let me stop here. That company that you were talking about was called Nashville Community Darkroom.
Okay.
That you can go use their darkroom facilities.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can't find that. I'm gonna see if I can add them on our do like a Nashville community. You say Nashville
Community Darkroom. It's on.
That's East Nashville.
It says 1143 Gallatin Avenue. I don't know. I never heard anybody call it Gallatin Avenue.
Is that their website? Is that their website?
NashvilleCommunityDarkroom.org.
Let's see if we can, if I can get them up. I don't see it coming up. Oh, .org. Okay, that's what we got wrong. Let's change that to .org. I'm gonna see if I can get their page to come up so people can see it. There we go. Let's get this up here. So you can go here, go to Nashville Community Darkroom. Of course, you can go and no, it says film is dead. Long live film. There you go. That's a good slogan. So go there to Nashville Community Darkroom. Check out their rates. Check out what they offer. But of course, thank you, Jeff, for hunting that down for us. And of course, now it's added to the video, so there is no excuse for you to not take advantage of that if you're serious. Okay, look, Claudia, I know you got a lot on your plate. Go ahead and unmute yourself. I want to hear you. I know you got a lot on your plate. You do. You help with animals. You're a photographer. You do workout. You do training. You do a lot of things. You're going to have to block some time out to go get in the darkroom. Trust me, I'm encouraging anyone that wants to really elevate their game by just a few hours in a darkroom. I promise you, you will benefit from it. I promise you. Just
I got a little note here with the name of the place.
There you go. and I'm going to keep reminding you to try that out. Of course, is it any other news, any other topics that you want to throw out there that's going on? That of course we talking on an open format today. So is there anything else that's happening that you guys want to throw on the table?
I actually got something in the mail. You know, my little tip of the day, I always try to come up with something. A couple of weeks ago, we had the cell phone apps, you know, for your photography. And I tested out Light Meter and did metering with my Grey Card versus the cell phone app, and it was pretty much right on. So here's my next gadget that I auctioned online. It's something that looked like rocket science to me, and it's a little timey. I'm saying it's age of everything digital and everything cell phone app. But I wanted to have one to see how they work. I just got last night, so I have not done any comparison, just, you know, by me sitting here by my desk trying to meter and dialing it into my camera, my reading. It's, you see all these numbers. You really have to, you know, download the manual. It did come without a manual, but you really have to read and study it, but it gives you the right settings for your camera. It's, I mean, it's just amazing. And for me, you know, these things that lay around, Al, you have them in your store, in your cabinets back there in the classroom, and, you know, you're afraid to touch them because you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do with this? But I just want to see, you know, what's out there, and, you know, it was a really good price online.
Right.
So I'm now going to meter with this handheld meter a little bit.
Well, let me ask you this,
so, you know,
Clark.
Yes. Yeah.
Let me ask, does it do flash or is it just
No, this one, it does not do flash.
Okay. So do you mind telling the viewers or people listening what kind of price range would they expect to pay for one if they found one online or something?
Yeah. This one here, I paid like $30 for.
Okay.
And it's functional. I tried it out right away. You know, it takes a minute to figure out, but you know, it was $30 because I think people are like afraid of all these numbers and dials and how to put them together when it's so easy to get your cell phone out and or go on automatic on the camera. But there's so much out there. I just want to learn it and see, you know, how stuff works.
Yeah, yeah. You would actually, in the dark room, you would have something similar so that you could get your exposure correct in the dark room. So they made devices for that. Jeff, do you got anything you want to add to that comment on what Claudia just added there with light meters and, of course, finding them at a good rate and how to use the light meter?
Let me say that. Sorry. I think this phone retailed for 200 at a time.
Wow.
So but I don't think anybody, uses this today. I just was curious with all these numbers and dials and how they work.
Right.
And if I can use it.
Well, Jeff, what about you, big guy?
That's something I've never used. I've never used a light meter, so that would be something interesting to get to play with, to see, see how much difference setting to, using that meter instead of just metering off with your camera.
I tell you, the big advantage is being able to set your camera up and get your camera exposed to the scene that you want, and then be able to freely walk around and take readings with a light meter. That's the huge advantage, is that once you get that, a lot of times once you get your camera set, like you get it on the tripod and get it composed and get everything like you want it, the last thing you want to have to do is start moving things to get light readings. So the big advantage to having a light meter is to be able to walk around with it and get readings free of the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And for $30, I mean, you can get a $200 handheld light meter for $30. I say grab it. And of course, they are fun to play with. But once you get used to it, once you get used to what the f-stops are, the ISO, and all those, the shutter speed, heck, it works exactly the way your meter works in your camera, except you've got the advantage of moving around with it.
Yeah.
And you can also add different attachments. Show that again, Claudia. Show that up. Show that up.
I do have attachment, and I pull it out. Let me just get that.
Okay.
Let me just get that. It came with, when you're out in really bright sunlight, you can add a little card in it that lets light through.
Yeah.
And that goes up here in the top.
Right.
And you can get a meter reading in really bright light.
Right. That's what that's for. That's exactly what it's for. Very good. So it comes with different attachments that you can. Okay. So thank you, Claudia. I really appreciate you adding that for your tip of the day. And of course, you always come up with some really good ones. And Jeff may go out now and buy that Hasselblad and go get him a light meter.
I bring that to the next guild meeting, Jeff, and let you have it for a month or so.
Of course, you can also get those for your smartphone. I've got one for you on my smartphone here. I'm going to show it.
Oh, look at that. Yeah.
That does the same thing, and it actually looks retro. It looks like it's sort of like a retro type light meter. But you can get them for your smartphone, and I've got some different ones I've used. Of course, Jeff, do you have anything else you want to add to the?
Have you ever checked that your app there on your phone against your light meter, just see how accurate they are?
Yeah, that was the first thing I did. I mean, that's the very first thing I did, and they're very accurate. I mean, it's like I was surprised. I was surprised how accurate or close it was to the analog light meter that I have. And I've got a Minolta light meter, a Minolta that I've had for several years, by the way, that does flash and ambient light. And it's a pretty sophisticated light meter. At that time, I think I gave like $400-something for it. And that would have been a few years ago.
And what'd you pay for that app?
I think it was $1.99.
That made you feel good, didn't it?
Yeah. The only thing the app won't do is flash meter.
Yeah.
It won't do flash meter, and it won't do a lot of the little small things that a handheld will do. But it does have some pretty good features.
I think you probably maybe look at it another way too. Is if you're at a wedding or something that you're probably not going to want to have your cell phone out and have it turned on either. It's
Right.
You don't want it ringing in the middle of the ceremony. So that little flash meter is probably not going to make a lot of noise, if any.
No, it won't make any noise. Okay, quickly, I want to go over profiles because I said I wanted to talk about that too. Profiles in your camera, on your computer, for your printer, for your scanner. Think of profiles of being small pieces of software that tells one device how something should look versus the other device. For example, you have a profile in your camera that you shoot, and most people shoot what we call sRGB, or standard red, green, and blue. Well, in order for me to allow my computer to reproduce as close as possible what it looked like on my camera, I need to tell my camera which profile my computer, which profile I was using. So profiles are very important, and you have to keep your profiles up to date, just like you keep your software up to date. Sometimes manufacturers will update their profiles. So make sure if you got a scanner or a printer or some other device that you're using, regularly visit their website to see if they have new profiles available. Because you could be working off of old profiles, getting bad results, and not realizing that's what it is. Profiles can get corrupted. You could have a bad profile, just like you have something happening to software. Your profiles can get corrupted. So from time to time, update your profiles. So that's what I would advise people to do with that. Otherwise, you're not going to get consistent images and get good results, especially when you go to print it out yourself at home, or you come to my lab and get it printed, or you take it to some other lab. Make sure your profiles are accurate and up to date. Of course, that's my little tip of the day. You got anything to add to that, Jeff?
You've also got to make sure that you tell Photoshop to use that profile and not use your printer manager, because it will come out like garbage. Here's a screen profiler, basically what it is, color monkey photo. When I use to calibrate my screens and things, it will also calibrate your printer. It prints out the little test, your little test thing. You slide it across it.
Yeah, hold it up again, Jeff. There you go. Very good.
It's got a little weighted strap that keeps it on your screen.
Right. And that's called Color Monkey?
Yeah, it's spelled COLORMUNKI. It's trying to remember the company. Data. Oh, X-Rite.
Yeah,
X-Rite product.
Well, you got a good product there, Jeff, because X-Rite has been around for a very long time, and they've made some really high-end products for the photo finishing industry.
Yeah,
so
I also have a Spider Monkey.
Yeah.
The first one I bought was Spider Monkey, and it when Windows continues to change, and they didn't continue updating the software, so
there you go.
Now another thing that Chris gave me a tip on at the guild meeting was a different software to use instead of the software that comes with Color Monkey. He felt it done better. Was called DisplayCal. It's DISPLAYCAL. It has a 3 after it. I haven't loaded it yet, but He said that was a free, freeware product, and he felt it done actually it was better than actually the software that came with your display, your calibrator.
Right, right. Well, I'd give that a try, but as you just said just a minute ago, that just adds to what I'm saying, that if you have old equipment and they're not keeping up the profiles, your results are just not going to turn out the way you expect. So make sure you keep everything up to date, the firmware, the profiles. If your equipment is out of date, look, you're just going to have to bite the bullet and get new equipment. That's just the way things go. You got any final thoughts, Claudia, before we leave? Unmute yourself. You got anything you want to say before we leave?
Keep on shooting out there.
There you go. Hey, that's great advice.
Yeah.
That's great advice, Claudia. Just keep on shooting. And of course, we are glad to have you guys come in today. And I really appreciate y'all coming on the show. Y'all don't know how much I appreciate that, because it's tough getting up in the morning, especially on Saturday mornings. You got other things you want to do. And we try to help people. And that's like, we had a great guild meeting just recently. Had a really good guild meeting. We had a great turnout. And as Jeff just said, we had Christopher Hamrick that come and spoke to our group about what he's working on in Wilmington, in the workshop at Wilmington. And of course, he's doing a lot of great things. He's a very intelligent guy, by the way. He comes on and comes into our chat from time to time, and maybe we'll get him back on. But I really want to thank you guys for coming in today and helping out. And as always, of course, you can find us in different places. You can find me here on the show. You can also find me, of course, in the dark room. And if you like radio, listen to me on Line Chasers Radio with Lonnie Poindexter at urbanfamilytalk.com. And you can find us there. And of course, we got Authors Day coming up, so check that out. That's going to be at Fiddler's Grove at the Wilson County Fair grounds on August the 21st from 2 to 6 p.m. Come and check out the local authors and support them. And just want to thank everybody for getting up and coming out today. I always enjoy this, and Claudia, I know you do as well. Claudia and Jeff, he's always learning. He's always growing.
Yeah.
And then that's just, hey, that's part of it. That's part of it. So thank you guys very much. But as usual, we've got to close it down. Got to go home. Got to get out. Got to do some things today. I've already had to change a battery in my vehicle. So I've already had some work to do. But I got my yard mowed. Got that done. And I'm glad that that's taken care of. But of course, all of this would not be possible if you were not blessed enough to have a country, to live in a country where you can go and be free, where you can be all that you can be. So thank God that you live in a country where you have such freedoms, and you have the benefits of those freedoms that many people don't have. If you have food in your refrigerator, you are in the top 5 wealthiest people in the world. Think about that. That if you have food in a refrigerator, that you are in the top 5% of the wealthiest people in the world. So I would tell you this: don't expect a gift, but be a gift. Be a gift to the world. So I want to say God bless you, and God bless this country, and